the best coffee scented fragrances. So maybe you really like the smell of coffee. Brewing yourself a cup of coffee isn't enough. You want to smell like it as well. I have a few fragrances that really encompass that scent. And as always, everything I mentioned will be available in the Amazon associate links down in the description below. Now, I'm going to start with two from the same brand, both from Kerosene. So this is Followed, and the other one is just Follow. These are both very intense, powerful coffee fragrances. So the thing about coffee fragrances is that a lot of them, first of all, there's not that many of them. Second of all, if there is a coffee fragrance, a lot of the times it doesn't smell that much like coffee. It's just kind of like you could tell it's a fake scent. These are very authentic coffee fragrances. So Follow is, it has some sweet notes mixed with the coffee. It has some benzoin and that sort of stuff. It's not that sweet. It's unisex. These are both unisex, actually. I would say Follow is a bit less intense than Followed, and it's also a little bit warmer and less sweet. That benzoin note really comes through after an hour or so, kind of warms it up, gives it a resinous feel in addition to the toastiness of the coffee. This Followed is, I would say, more intense on the coffee, but also more intense on the sweetness. And it doesn't have the same kind of resinous nature as Follow has. But in general, they're both really strong coffee fragrances. Now, I would say Followed probably lasts an hour or two longer than just a regular Follow. But both of the openings are very realistic in terms of how it smells like coffee. It really smells like, someone is making a cup of coffee in the other room. And besides just the kind of authenticity, they're also nicely balanced with some of the sweet notes, some of the more resinous notes, and that sort of thing. Neither of them are too crazy sweet. They're both kind of nice and balanced. So you don't have to worry about that, especially since they're unisex. They hold up the unisex thing pretty well. If you're worried about going too sweet, Followed is a little bit, definitely on the sweeter side compared to Follow. But in general, these are both extremely attractive and very authentic coffee fragrances. So definitely, if you really want to go for the real deal, you want a powerful coffee scent, either of these will do the trick for sure. Then, if you want a more subtle type of coffee note, then I would say from Montal, Intense Cafe. So this has the main things here are the coffee, obviously, mixed with a rose note. And when I reviewed this in one of my previous videos, I said that the coffee in this is actually relatively subtle. Despite cafe being in the name, it isn't kind of the front player, unlike those Kerosene fragrances. This is more of a subtle, smooth, kind of background coffee scent. Really, the rose note is actually front and center in this one. However, I still think both of those main notes are really well balanced. And like I said, this is more if you want just like more of a faint slash floral type of coffee fragrance. It's actually really nice. You just have to, go into it prepared, knowing that it's not a super powered coffee scent. It's just more of a background coffee scent. And the rose note that it has is really nice. It's not too sweet, more of like a cool, crisp, floral type of note. And then mixed with the toastiness and the warmth of the coffee, they really balance each other really well. Now, the longevity, I would say, is relatively moderate on this one, probably around 6 hours. So it's not like a super powered fragrance or anything. But it is a nice, I would say, casual daytime sort of fragrance. So, you're going out to get the groceries, or you're going out to work or something. This is a really versatile, really smooth, moderate, very inoffensive type of fragrance. Now, two that I do not have, but I know for sure that they're really good in terms of coffee. The next one is Replica Coffee Break. So the thing about this, I've heard pretty much everyone say that Coffee Break is one of the most realistic coffee scents that you could possibly get your hands on. I mean, Replica, obviously, they're known for replicating certain scents, and this is no different. They really get that kind of coffee maker in the morning type of smell, which is really nice. It's definitely, front and center for that coffee note. Pretty similar to the kerosene fragrances in terms of how realistic the coffee note is. Very, very kind of nice unisex option. But definitely, if you maybe are not a fan of the kerosene fragrances, maybe they're too strong for you, maybe they're too sweet for you, I would say the Replica Coffee Break is a really nice alternative because it really replicates the real smell of what coffee is supposed to smell like. So it's a very attractive, very smooth, and very warm type of scent. And because it has a certain warmth to it, it's especially good for either the evening or cold weather. Although I would say it's versatile enough to be used, all the time, year-round. It doesn't really matter that much for this particular fragrance. Now, another one that I think does a really good job of, again, kind of taking that coffee note, but then cutting it with another kind of other note to balance it out, is Tom Ford Cafe Rose. Obviously, Tom Ford is known for producing extremely luxurious and very nice fragrances. This one in particular is quite nice because obviously you get the coffee note and you mix it with the rose note, which is similar to the Cafe Intense from Montal. Although I would say Tom Ford does it better because the coffee's more prominent, the rose is more prominent, and in general the strength of the fragrance is just better. So it's just kind of a higher class alternative to the Montal fragrance. But it has really good potency, really good performance. You could just tell it's a high quality fragrance just by smelling it. And of course, as I said before, Tom Ford is kind of the luxury type of fragrance brand these days. So you can't really go wrong with this one, especially if you're a fan of, florals mixed with coffee, that sort of thing. I would say this is an extremely balanced type of fragrance. And again, as long as you like both rose and coffee, you can't really dislike this fragrance. It's an extremely likable, very approachable, very friendly type of fragrance while still being very attractive as well. So you kind of have everything in this particular fragrance. But that is pretty much my list of coffee-scented fragrances. So hopefully you found this video helpful. And if you did, of course, leave a like and maybe subscribe. And I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.